Everybody, time for the digital marketing news this week. I got some really big stuff this week, a bunch of stories, super important. We will learn this week together. I am excited. If you're excited too, give me a like. I always appreciate that. Let's go ahead and dive into it. All right, first thing is Google adds new manual actions penalties. These are for Google Discover and they're for Google News. So Google Discover, it's this thing, it's like an AI-driven thing that pushes information to you based off of what you like. But they came out with these new penalties, which are good penalties, but a lot of censorship kind of also at the same time for these two areas. So a lot of themes on censorship lately, right? But seem to be good ones. Let me know what you think. First one, lack of transparency, Google News. Adult themed content, Google Discover. Misleading content, Google Discover. Dangerous content, both. Harassing content, both. Hateful content, both. Manipulated media, both. Medical content, both. Sexually explicit content, both. Terrorist content, both. Violence and gore content, both. Language content, both. Vulgar language. So those type of things will be dinged in Google News and Google Discover. Next thing, Google says that removing blog content might impact your SEO. Google looks at blog comments. Blog comments might impact your SEO. So within a blog, you've got all this text, and then you've got the comments at the bottom. When you add new comments consistently, and then they're good, high-quality content, Google crawls that. They see that they rank the blog post higher, right? So if you remove all of those, Google might ding you because they don't really discriminate between the content at the top and the blog comments. It's all kind of all part of the content of the page. Next thing, Google Ads will phase out modified broad match. So Google recently announced that the broad match modifier version of keyword matching in Google Ads will soon go away. In 2 weeks, the phrase match option will cover broad match modified keywords. Google says your performance data will remain the same once the change rolls out. And then further, you can continue using broad match modifier keywords up until July. And Google says that it's rolling out the change so account managers won't have to spend as much time managing specific keywords. You know, when you're doing broad match, it's this targeting ability that can have a lot of it's just hard to manage all the different data and all the different keywords and all the different variations that can happen. So Google's trying to make it easier. Next thing, this is pretty big. So Instagram has decided that they are limiting shares from TikTok. So if you're on TikTok and you share your video on Instagram Reels and it's got a TikTok logo, Instagram is mad at you and they're not going to show that TikTok content is high and as much on Instagram because Instagram is going against TikTok. It's anti-competitive behavior from Instagram. What they're saying is that they're doing it because the content's already been shared and it's not unique. What do you think? Should Instagram ding content that's shared from TikTok just because it's got a TikTok logo on it? I've kind of appreciated some of that content personally, and I don't care if there is a TikTok logo on there. I kind of like knowing that they are on TikTok. Next thing, this is similar, anti-competitive behavior. So Facebook is developing its own Clubhouse. Clubhouse, we did a training for the whole company on it last week on Friday in our Innovation Friday. It's super cool. It's, you can kind of go into this room, and in this room, there's people speaking. They might be huge celebrities or nobody. You never know. And there's a bunch of different topics. You could come into a room with me where I'm giving a presentation on something really cool. You can listen in. You could ask me questions, right? Or anybody else out there. That's kind of how it works, right? So this thing is taking off. It's only on iOS, by the way. It's only on Apple, so it's a pain. You can't get on it if you're not on Apple. You have to go get an Apple device. But, they'll make it for Android, I'm sure. Anyways, so Facebook wants a piece of that action. Rumor is they are building all of this into Facebook, and they're going to make a Facebook Clubhouse-ish type of app because they have unlimited resources there, basically. So watch out for that. And, I think that that's one of those things that's really kind of wouldn't that bum you out if you were on Clubhouse? Not bum you out, but wouldn't it make you second guess if you should, in fact, continue to try to build up a presence on Clubhouse or attend Clubhouse if you knew that the biggest site with the most members was building the functionality into the future? This is a big thing that happens in tech all the time, and it's not just Facebook and social sites. It's all tech, right? It's all who's going to just build the next feature, because there is not a really good system for protecting proprietary data and patents in the web, because all of it's very easy to kind of replicate in some ways. There is a system for it, but it's very, very hard to get something pushed through. Next thing, the US government is not going to be forcing TikTok to sell its US operations. So the Trump administration was saying, hey, TikTok, you got to sell. It's a major issue for the United States to have all these users in the United States, and for you, China, to have access to all of this data, and you got to sell everything to a US-based company. And the Biden administration decided that's not what they need to do. So Biden administration won't force TikTok to sell its US company ownership. What they said is they're going to come out and they're going to try to create an overarching policy for all types of situations like this, not just TikTok because it's so much bigger. But for now, they are pulling back on that a little bit. Next thing, Google says that Core Web Vital stats might include non-indexed pages. Core Web, every year, Google comes out with like a big thing. It's got to be page speed, right? You got to be mobile first. So much stuff, right? They're always like some marketing message around search. And it's usually for a good reason. It's usually, you got to have a secure site. It's usually because they are trying to protect all the people who use search and try to make it a better experience. In fact, almost all the time it is. So this new one, Core Web Vitals, is going to happen in May. If you don't pass it, you're going to get dinged. What they came out with is they said that non-indexed pages, so even if you block these pages from Google, could impact your rankings, which is pretty weird. But one thing I want you to know is that it's just for mobile. It impacts your entire section of your website, potentially the whole website if you have a few pages that don't pass. It's not on the page level. And it's something you got to work on. We're working through with clients. We've kind of developed this checklist where we're going through it piece by piece and getting them all ready. But it is tough for some of these older legacy websites that aren't on CMSs that are working on this. I'm hoping that a lot of the CMSs like Shopify and WordPress and these bigger ones, Drupal, they come out with a new version that addresses this. So a little bit of it's on them, but in some cases they just they don't do that type of stuff. That's it for the digital marketing news this week. The last thing I had, we had 100 people submit amazing stories for our Rising Stars in Marketing awards. It was so cool. I'm so pumped up to see the next gen of marketers coming in and the stuff that they're doing, and they're so smart and hungry, and it was one of the cooler things we've done. So check out the Rising Stars in Marketing Awards. I'm going to be doing interviews with all the top people who became finalists for it, so that's going to be really fun just to hear from them. I hope you're having a fantastic week. I can't wait to see you next week. Goodbye.